Hey guys, welcome to another side quest episode of the Massive Encyclopedia, where we talk about a couple of things that we couldn't fit into this week's episode or last week's episode. This side quest is going to focus on something from 2 episodes ago. It's about Feyre and this notion of the bride and the law of whether or not she was stolen, as well as some of the side characters that we meet in both last chapter chunk and this most recent one. So, Rev, do you want to get us started talking about Feyre as the bride and the laws that go around that?
Do I? I have been wanting to talk about this for a grip. I am slightly infuriated / confused. Cressida's like, oh, what a relief to know we're not harboring a stolen bride and we won't have to return you. We'll have to return you to your master. And she's like, first of all, I left of my own free will. Second of all, no one is my master. And Cressida, says back to Feyre, think that all you want, sister, but the law is the law. We would have to return you. And here is my beef with this. Rhys clearly interrupted the wedding before they were married. It's page 41 of A Court of Mist and Fury. She's 10 steps from the dais and she starts to slow down. And then she completely stops. She's like, if I turn around and walk away, everyone's going to be talking about this. What do I do? I can't. And then she's just like, I just need to get out. I need to be saved. Save me. And Ianthe is like, come on, Feyre. Come on. Be joined with your true love. Feyre, come on. And Feyre's like, no, I don't want to do that. And then bam, she does not complete the ceremony because Rhys arrives. Now come back to the chapter chunk when we are in the summer court and he's like, any of you that want to return Feyre, your life will be forfeit. She actually volunteers herself and she's like, if I were to return to Spring Court and it could prevent more war and prevent more people from dying, we already know Feyre's mindset about the 2 Fae that she had to kill when she was in Under the Mountain and like how much it weighs on her. And so we understand that she would be like, I would absolutely do whatever I have to do to make sure that there's no more deaths on my head. But she was not stolen. They were not married. She is not a bride. She walked away of her own accord, but it's only because she was asking for it every single time. She asked for someone to come stop this wedding. Just tell me what your thoughts are on this because I hate this.
So, I have a couple of thoughts on this. And this is more broad picture than line by line analysis. I think what we are seeing here, and I think what Sarah J. Maas is doing in this series is she is playing with misogyny in big ways. And because when you think about it, remember back in A Court of Thorns and Roses when Feyre is talking about, well, why aren't there any high ladies? And Tamlin's like, because girls can't be high ladies. There is no such thing. And she's like, well, I could be. And he goes, no, that's cute. You can't be. And Rhys is the one who's like, there are no high ladies yet. There could be, if there wanted to be one. I think that Cressida, and even Tarquin to an extent, are living under this pre-under the mountain world where they're like, no, you belong to him. You are his. You were to be his bride. You agreed to be his bride. Now you have to finish that contract. And I think this also plays a little bit into the fantasy arc of romantasy. And I think romantasy is just historical romance meets fantasy, right? Like you've got the hierarchy, you've got the high lords, you've got this, you've got that. I think that this is tapping back to those origin notes of he is the Lord and you are to be his wife. You agreed, but also he's chosen you. You don't really get a say-so in this. How many times have we read a romantasy book or a historical where the villain or the king will say, I married this one. And she doesn't
like the
want to marry
whole
him.
entire Tudor dynasty.
Right, exactly. But also where it's, I am supposed to marry the king of the Unseelie. I don't want to marry him. I want to marry my guardsman. Well, you don't get the choice. Of course, you marry the guardsman because happily ever afters, right? But I think that is what's happening here. I think we're getting two worlds kind of crashing together. And in addition to Feyre saying, that's not me, she is literally able to say, that does not count to me because I am unmade and made. I am not of your rules. I'm not of your laws. And she has someone who's very powerful behind her saying, she is made and unmade. She does not follow our rules. She does what she wants. It reminds me of my favorite scene. You mentioned it in this week's episode, but the Winter Court, where the lady of the Winter Court is like, she's a high lady? Why can't I be a high lady? I think his name's Callias, is like, no, I mean, you could be one if you want. She's like, I do want to be one. He's like, fine. Yeah, like, I love you. I'll do whatever you want. You can be a high lady. I don't think that would happen, pre-Under the Mountain. I don't think that would happen without Feyre and Rhys. In order for these changes to happen, we have to see what they're changing from. So we have to see someone outside of Tamlin's court saying, no, you don't get the choice. If Tamlin says you are his lady, you are his lady. We will go to war for that because that's what our people do. How many wars have been started over a woman? Helen of Troy. Like, this is literally Helen of Troy, right? Like, she goes to someone else. How different is that?
I think that, like, the part that I identify with so much is how many times the words have come out of your mouth. Feyre is taking her agency back. And we cannot, as women, continue to support tropes that put women without their agency. And so I do love this, like, independence and, like, free women. And I'm saying it, like, flippantly, like, oh, there's all these tropes, but there are. And so, like, I do see what you're saying. I don't think we can have the change made if we can't point out what we're changing from. We have to establish what the baseline was so that we can see the change. We can see her become a high lady and not have to be the bride of someone else. But I guess, like, until you point it out, you can't say this is what we're changing from because you haven't established the baseline.
You have to choose what changes are going to happen, right? When you have a catastrophic event happen, and now the rules are changed. Let's take COVID, for instance. COVID has changed the world in immeasurable ways. But we have to, or had to, actively say, now we're going to wear masks. Now we're going to do this. It didn't suddenly happen overnight. There were people who were fighting against it. The only way
Still are.
Right. But the only way that these changes are coming about are by these small individual changes that then become big. So I think that this is actually more powerful because Tarquin is the one who says, unless Tamlin specifically asks, and this is part of that Fey language, right? Where you have to speak a very specific language. Unless he speaks the very specific words, I will not betray you.
Kind of like how the Fae make deals with people,
right?
Or they make riddles. And it's like, you have to read between the lines and realize where the fine print is that no one said. Like, figure it out.
Arguably, this goes back to Amarantha, where she and Feyre make the deal. And Feyre clarifies more specifically. And Amarantha's like, oh, you are very smart. You understand our language. I think that is what Tarquin, and the only way that that conversation and that alliance could have happened is by this scene happening. The only way we get to see Tarquin say, I will not rat you out, is because Cressida is the one who says, we could rat you out. And we would be in the right to do so. We would gain favor with the Spring Court if we did so.
When Feyre says, I left of my own accord because he locked me up. Now, granted, that clearly does fall into the lines of what you were saying about, like, historically, when a king wants what he wants, or royalty or high lord or whatever, they get what they want, and you did agree to it, so we would have to return you as his would-be bride. And then she says, if that's what it would take to prevent more people dying, I would go back. It's so, like, fighting for me, all of these things.
I think there's also perhaps this slight mentality of, if you're already willing to go back,
it's the permission, right?
Yeah. You're already saying, yes, you will go back. Why do we have to go to war for you? But I think the important thing here is when Feyre says, no, I chose. That's where we get into her agency. That's where we get into her saying, I chose to marry him and I chose not to marry him. Or I got a choice both times. One does not negate the other.
They have to somehow contend with the way that she left. Rhys is on the receiving end to come save her. So they now would potentially have to defend supporting someone that it looks like came in and stole his potential bride. The bad guy that everyone knows is the worst guy in Prythian just came in and stole your woman. With the tattoo that he forced on her. So, like, it's so bad looking, But
I think this also goes back to those laws we were talking about in the first and second chapters or episodes where it's, by law, I cannot go in and take her. When Rhys says to Mor, by law, I cannot be the one to do this. It's the same. That is an act of war. For a king to go into another kingdom and steal the queen is an act of war in any world, in any country. That is essentially...
It's a game of chess.
It
literally.
is. And now we also have the who's telling the truth. Is Tamlin going around saying, the Night Court stole her? If you see my wife, he took her before I could make her my wife. Right? There's so many different ways to look at this. But I think the most important part of this interaction happens on 334 when Tarquin says, I will not mention that you were here. This is him taking a side. This is him ignoring Prythian law. And this could be treason, possibly. But also...
And he's a newer High Lord, right? So, like, he still has so much to prove.
But also, we are going to have to pay attention. Even though they are the Summer Court's most wanted, does Tarquin ever reveal to Tamlin that she was there or that she's in the Night Court? I mean, I know he knows she's in the Night Court, but does Tarquin ever reveal that that's where she was?
It's more about, like, not where actually is Feyre. It's more about which side does Tarquin take. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, where he has said, you are now my biggest enemy. You are Summer Court's number one target. If that were me, I would go to the Spring Court and say, your wife was here. Team up with me. Now we have two courts that can go against the Night Court. Cressida's right. High Lords have gone to war for less, Doing it over such an unusual female would be nothing unexpected. If Tarquin wanted, and if he wanted to be that kind of High Lord, he could start a war that he would be in the right to do, per Prythian law.
God, we have talked about this for 2 episodes now. What a good guy Tarquin is. He sends them the blood rubies and he's like, enemy number 1, 2, and 3. Also, though, I'm not going to tell Tamlin you were here.
But also, this is something I didn't mention in our episode. We know that Tarquin and Varian are very close friends. They were guards together. Are we meant to believe that Varian did not tell Tarquin that he sent Amren a peace offering?
How could he have even got it without Tarquin's permission? I mean, Tarquin's in charge of the trove, right? So he had to have gotten it with Tarquin's, if not permission, at least knowledge.
Or if he didn't know, he'll find out. Because I'm sure they're going to do a catalog of anything else that was stolen. So...
Because they already stole the Book of Breathings. What else did they steal?
Is this a case of, it's like the spy games where it's like, I'm going to say, how dare you do this? But like on the down low, I get why you did this. And the secret tunnel to get out of here is through there. As we're talking about that, I wonder how much Tarquin knew. It just reiterates that he is such a good character.
He is a gentleman.
I want a little novella of him finding love because gosh darn it, he deserves it.
He deserves it. I want him to find love. I do. He's such a good guy. He's so good. He sends them blood rubies, yet does not go to Tamlin and be like, your girl was here. He doesn't do, I don't know how to reconcile all this, but he's just too good.
I mean, maybe he does. Maybe, we don't know. I'm going to have to pay attention later on. But
SJM, don't do it. Don't ruin Tarquin for us. Don't do it. He never said a word and leave it that way.
I do think that that's the importance of this scene. The importance of this scene is establishing the law and establishing the tradition so that Feyre and Rhysand can flip it on its head, and we see that flip become the norm or a protocol because we also see it in the Winter Court. Let's talk about female side characters that happen in these chapter chunks because we see so much.
Yeah, which one do you want to start with?
I am going to actually start with the restaurant owner from last episode, episode 6, and it's in chapter 29 on page 283. So what's happening here is the inner circle have gone out to eat, and the restaurant owner, I always have felt like she is a representation of the Valerian people, but also Rhys's leadership. In what world does someone go up to a High Lord and say, the traders were saying the prices might rise, especially if Hybern is true? If anyone were to say that to Tamlin or Baron, they would lose an eye, to say the least, right?
Lucian did.
And
Rhys's,
he did lose an eye. Tamlin's response is, I'm going to make sure that those prices don't go up. He does not get angry. He does not get affronted. And even down the table, I felt others' attention slide to us as they kept talking. Other people are listening to this conversation. And Rhys isn't mad. She feels comfortable enough to talk about this. And she tries to give them a free meal. She gives Amren blood. She literally slaughters a lamb or a goat saying, I was going to cook it tomorrow. It doesn't matter. Who are you that you are that good of a High Lord, that your people fawn over you, not because they have to, but because they want to. And everyone knows her. Like, Rhys greets her.
She, on page 284, is like, I'll bring you guys a special dessert. Like, she's not trying to get to the point where she's like simpering. She's to the point where we see her expressing gratitude.
When we see interactions with Tamlin, everyone is
fearful.
Bowing. Yes, I'm bowing. I don't look him in the eyes. You must have a tithe. Oh, God bless them if they don't have it. With Rhys, people see him walk through the city. the restaurant owners can go up to him and be like, hey, we just got spices back. Are you really going to take this away from us? Oh my God, the prices. Also, I'm going to give you the best meal of the night. No, I don't want any money. Oh yeah, I'm going to go slaughter the cow so that your friend can have something to eat. I'm not even going to use this meat tonight. Like, this character, who we never see again, we never hear her name, seems to represent so much of
That's
Valeris.
what I was going to say. She represents the people of Valeris who are just like, I'm not trying to gain favor. I'm just so grateful for the person that you are. Like, I'm so grateful. And what else can I do? Because that's how much we think you are an amazing leader, and like how much what you've done for us. What can I ever even amount to do? What kind of meal could I ever make to pay you back for what you did for us?
This is why I wanted to talk about these side characters that we meet in this chapter chunk and the last one. Is they seem to represent more than just the words on the page. This character represents more than just a restaurant owner. Similarly, the wraiths in chapter 8 and in the last episode represent more than just another Fey creature. They represent kindness and reciprocity. I think is how you pronounce it.
Reciprocity.
Yep, that word. They represent
gratitude.
Yes. You know, we're told that they are greedy, that they want nothing but meat and jewels and all of this.
Hold on. Amryn literally says it, page 357. Only an immortal with a mortal heart would have given those horrible beasts the money. Like, that's how they're seen.
Alice says, it's on page 97, too many fairies have tasted hunger these past 50 years. Don't think this won't spread. And before that, she will never forget it. As long as she lives, no matter what you said,
she is in your debt. But Feyre didn't do this because of debt. Feyre did this as compassion, as a testament to her character. Tamlin would never. I do not think Rhys would punish someone because they did not have the means to get some sort of payment to him. He might peacock around and make a grand gesture, this and that, but I don't think he would punish the way that the members of the Spring Court are being punished.
I don't even think he would peacock around. There's no way he would be so disrespectful to Cassian and Azriel that he would even peacock around it. I don't think he would. I think he would just automatically be like, hands down, what this is unnecessary, and just drop it and let it be and never speak about it again.
I think in the Court of Nightmares he would.
Right, yeah, that's true, yeah. But the Court of Nightmares are also a-holes, and they deserve it.
Agreed. Yes, but that is the persona he has to put on. But I think it's one of those cases where it reminds me of Claire Bedore. Rhys does these actions where he's punishing people, but still being kind. Tamlin would never. And I think that the wraiths are these creatures that are supposedly greedy and ugly and they're monstrous, but someone showed them kindness and they have honor that they
to the
give
point
them.
Where one water wraith, or three of them in the Spring Court, how did they get word to the Summer Court, to their other water
How
wraith
do they
friends?
know?
How do they know? But like, there is this appreciation and commitment that these water wraiths of Summer Court are aware of who Feyre is and what she has done, and like save her.
And the last thing I want to say about them is, in addition to that, they chose to go against the High Lord of the Summer Court to save Feyre and aid her in her thievery.
Appreciation and truth. That is truth. This is true commitment to honoring. We realize the good person that you are, even though no one else would do that for us, and we have got your back. You don't even know. We've talked to all the water wraiths and all the court. And if you ever need our help, we're there. Like how else does that work? Right.
Right.
Like,
but I think now that debt is settled, now they're done. They don't have, now the word can go out.
just because if Feyre hadn't done them another solid, that they wouldn't do her another solid. I feel like they
100%.
would reach a hand out to her, even if they didn't owe her anything, that I think they would. I'm not saying I hope we see that, but if we do, I'll be like, not surprised. I called it. Why? Because like everyone thinks they're trash and maybe they're not trash.
Yeah. Maybe they're just different. Okay. Who do you want to move on to next?
I want to move on to, I'm just going in order of how I have them written down. Can we talk
Sure.
about Miriam next?
I would love it if we did.
My thoughts starting out, we keep hearing about Miriam. She is unmade and made, right? Like she died and then was brought back to life. The only thing that's like kind of comparable to Feyre, except for Amren and all the others we've already mentioned. But she was with the human Jurian. Then she fell for Dracon. So I would like to talk about this made and unmade, or unmade and made, with Miriam, how that compares to Jurian, because she was with Jurian, then went to Dracon. But now Jurian is also going to turn into an unmade and a made person. There's the comparison with Amren. There's the comparison with the Book of Breathings, because it's kind of sentient. Together, Miriam and Dracon guard this mysterious object. Apparently, it's also the object that was brought forth from the cauldron that gave her life back, and they're guarding that. And that's maybe the fifth part of the trove, but also isn't the horn the fifth part of the trove? So like, well, I don't know. Tell me some of your thoughts on this.
I think they are given the cauldron at the end because they have been living in secret for the past 500 years. And no one knows where they are. I could be wrong about that, but we'll have to pay attention.
What about her previously leaving Jurian and going with Dracon? But now Jurian is going to be just like her. He's going to be an unmade and a made person. Mm-hmm. He's going to be the third. Miriam, then Feyre, now Jurian. So
and Amren, fourth.
And fourth, because there's also Amren.
I think it will be interesting to look at, because I want to pay attention more to Miriam when we get to her. Is Jurian going to be considered made and unmade? Because if you make... okay, this is going to be a weird comparison, but go with me. When you cut a tail off of a lizard, the lizard is not unmade. It just grows a new tail, right? We're not pulling anything different. Jurian is just... it's his whole
stuck.
Body.
He's been stuck in a ring. He hasn't been unmade. He hasn't died.
Right. He has been conscious and aware of everything that has been happening while with Amarantha. Feyre was made and unmade. She was killed and her body was changed from one species to another. Jurian remains human. I think that's all I've got on Miriam.
Yeah.
What
all
do you
I
want
got
to move
on
on
Miriam.
What do you want to move on to next?
Cressida.
Let's do it. I want to pay attention. Do we ever find out if Cressida is under the mountain? I don't think she is. I think I get the sense that she was ruling in the High Lord's stead. Because
is she like a Moore situation where she was like in control and like was ruling while they were under the mountain? Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying.
I'll buy it.
Because when we first meet Cressida and Tarquin and that whole lot, at the end of that chapter, it's when Rhys says, don't threaten her. Tarquin says, she has made many sacrifices on behalf of her people. Do not take her caution personally.
What sacrifices has she made? What
I
is
don't think
her
we ever
story?
hear very much more about Cressida other than when we're in Summer Court. We don't hear more of it.
Yeah. And I also wanted to note in this most recent chapter episode on 340, Varian was studying Amren as if he was trying to solve a riddle she'd posed to him, and she paid him no heed whatsoever as she debated with Cressida about the variation or various translations of some ancient text. So
What
we're
does
getting
Cressida know that we don't know that she knows?
what does she know that we don't know? And what is she translating?
So this ties into something that is the thing that I've been waiting to tell you for so long.
Lay it on me.
SJM admitted publicly that she, quote, accidentally reused the name Cressida in Throne of Glass. She didn't realize that she had already used it in ACOTAR, so she reused it in Throne of Glass. But did she actually reuse it? Or is this where Cressida ties into talking to Amren about text that she knows? Because
Who is she in
I know
Throne of Glass?
Cressida is not... The name Cressida is used in Throne of Glass.
Where is she in Throne of Glass? Oh. She is
They're
the
not-
matron of the Blue Blood Witch Clan.
Yep. The Blue Blood Matron Coven. The High Witch.
Oh.
So, did SJM reuse that name? Was it truly by accident and she didn't realize it? Or is she holding out on us? And Cressida knows something reinvigorated because she's a cousin. She's not a sister. So who knows
Right.
actually how long she's been alive? And I mean, he's been under the mountain for 50 plus years. So like, maybe she has been around a lot longer than anyone knows, because how else would she have knowledge to talk about translating ancient languages with Amren?
Right. And also, what kind of cousin is she? Moore and Reese are cousins. Barely.
And we don't know how close they are. Are they first cousins? Are they 18th cousins? No one knows. Because we all know it has been established. SJM does not reuse names.
Does not
She
reuse
claims
names.
to the people, I accidentally did that. And then in 5 years, is she going to be like, ha ha, dropped a bomb on y'all. Guess what?
Right.
I didn't accidentally reuse it. It was on purpose. Also, if it is on accident, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. What does this mean for our dear Sweetbriar? I want her to live on. Don't let it be an accident.
No,
Let
it
be on
can't be an
purpose,
accident.
please.
Nope, it's on purpose. We'll get there. It's on purpose.
Yeah. Thank you for solidifying my confidence and making me feel better about that.
I'm shooketh, as they say. Because, like, she's a witch of the Blue Bloods. And Cressida
And I feel like
is-
her race was white in Throne of Glass, right? Aren't the Blue Bloods more white complected?
I think so. But the Blue Bloods, like the color blue, which is also similar to the Summer Court blue. I feel like this could be a rabbit hole you just fall down. That's a good one. That's a real
I
good
did
one.
fall down it. Also, side note, real quick, we can just talk about it and laugh about it. The amount of jealousy that Feyre has for Cressida when she's like, I just hope they go to her room because I can't even hear that. His room is too close to mine. I can't even tolerate that.
It's
She's
so
so jealous. It's so good.
It's so well, and this goes to their relationship, right? Like, she is showing jealousy because she actually wants him. She hasn't admitted it yet, but if she didn't care, if she didn't care about Reese, she would not care if he was hooking up with someone. Okay.
And who would not be in the Tarquin? Like,
Yeah,
I already
he's-
said last 2 episodes ago, Tarquin is hot AF. And I would be like, hot
And-
on the trail of Tarquin.
He's perfect. We've already said he's literally the nicest High Lord out there.
He gives her stuff knowing that she's going to go back with another man, potentially 2 other men. She's promised to one man, going back with another man. And he's like, I'll just give you a necklace. Like, he's so good. Oh,
he's so good. Okay. Last one is
6 human queens.
Yeah. Was it only like touching on them? I feel like the 6 human queens are going to be a theme throughout the rest of the series, because they are so conniving, they are evil, and they are very secretive. The fact that they can winnow is huge.
They've already, like, Feyre feels guilty about stolen powers. They are not even Fae. What are they doing with this book of breathings that they can winnow? And what else can they do?
Right.
There's 6 human queens that stole how much power, or I guess have been smart enough to utilize it. I don't know.
But so I don't think they stole it. I think in the next chapter chunk, they say it was gifted to us. But
oh, they do say that in the next chapter chunk.
But I think the big thing with the 6 queens is their purpose is not for the humans. They want to become immortal. They want what Feyre has.
We see that in book 3, don't we?
We see that at the end of book 2. Where one of them
jumps into a cauldron?
No. That's how book 2 ends. Spoiler.
Okay.
They throw Nesta and Elaine in to see if it works. And it does for them. And then one of them jumps in and she becomes an old lady. I also think it's interesting. I don't remember where the one queen is, because don't only 5 show up? 5
only
queens
5
and 2 guards. Where's
2 guards per queen?
2 guards per queen?
They say she's it says 5 show up. 5 show up with 2 guards per queen.
Oh, you're right. 2 guards apiece.
I'm interested in the next chapter chunk. I've not read ahead. I think the queens are going to be... They're big players for the rest of the book, even though we only see them a handful of times, because they drop off. Because that one queen gives them the book of breathings, and the other queens kill her.
Like nice one,
right? The other queens kill her, leave her in Valeris.
2 points that connect together and interact. First of all, 1, why is Azriel unable to penetrate their defenses? Mm-hmm. Number 2,
who set up those wards?
Who's doing that, and who's protecting? Who's powerful enough to keep Azriel out? But 2, I just have to connect it. Why did they demand no weapons? Because it's already listed.
Sure.
Illyrians are weapons in and of themselves. Illyrians do not need weapons to be weapons. So they obviously have magic. They obviously can keep Azriel out. Why did they demand no weapons? I feel like this was a ploy to make everyone else think that we feel vulnerable because we have no magic or very little magic, and so we're going to ask everyone else to not have weapons. It was a sign that they were sending to everyone else. We're actually vulnerable, so you don't have to be scared of us. I think they did that, and they are not scared of weapons whatsoever.
I think that at this point,
so what?
Chapter 39 of A Court of Mist and Fury, they have already aligned themselves with Hybern. He has made them some sort of promise to protect them, not the humans. And that is why they are.
But they are humans.
But they want to be turned into Fae. And that's what Hybern offers them at the end, and proves that it can be done through Nesta and Elaine. I want to know how that connection, how that relationship was established, and what they did. Like, how did this relationship happen?
I think this next book, I think there's a reason she's coming out with 2 books so fast, right? Like, There is so much we have to catch up on over the past several years. But we needed to spend so much time on Nesta because Nesta is such a big character and she's so important. And we had to devote so much time to her. I think these next 2 books are her being like, everybody, let's roll out. We're going to go catch up on the story. Everything else that you guys have had questions about, we're going to go figure out. I just think Nesta needed so much time.
But I think the 6 queens, their storyline ends at the end of this book. They're gone. They're dead.
But it doesn't mean we can't find out history, right? Because like how
Sure.
many times do we get later on and find out history about like what was planned, what went right, what went wrong?
Right. I just want to pay so much more attention to Hybern because I feel like she's almost replicating Amarantha and Hybern. Like Amarantha is this big bad person in book 1. She's only in for a few chapters. Hybern is the big bad, and he's in for a book and a half, but he dies pretty quickly.
And it's not like he's a main character in most of our chapters. He's not.
Correct. He's kind of like that shadow threat, but
It's kind of like a video game. Like we're encountering these bosses and the books that we're reading are giving us the skills to get to like the next boss. But I see what you're saying. Like, so little importance is given on their story and their arcs and their background and how everything we played out. And we have a lot of assumptions that we have to make to cross these bridges to get from one story to the next.
yeah. But I think the 6 queens, it will be very interesting to pay attention, especially in the next chapter chunk, to the language that they use, to what their intentions are, and what they do versus what they really want.
And luckily, we have the benefit of knowing that because we've read all of these books before.
We have read them. Is there anything else you want to add in?
I got nothing else. What else do you have?
That's all I have. Don't forget, next week we are reading chapters 40 through 44 of A Court of Mist and Fury. And I guess we'll see you guys next week.
With bells on.
Okay. I will talk to you guys later. I will talk to you probably later. All right.
I will
bye.
definitely talk to you later. Bye.